Brothers and sisters, last week's gospel was about how you are the salt and the light of the world. This week is a continuation of chapter 5 of the gospel. Christ in today's gospel informs us on the proper attitude or disposition we should have in obeying the law. It is said that there are 613 laws in the Old Testament. The Jews understood that the law is divine, and that in it God has his final word, and that therefore everything must be in it. If a thing it was not in the law explicitly, it must be there implicitly. So there arose a group of men called the scribes, who make it the business of their lives to reduce the great principle of the law to various practical rules and regulations. For many generations, the scriptural law was never written down. It was the oral law, and it was handed down in the memory of the generation of the scribe. Another group of men called Pharisees, whose name means the separated one, were the men who had separated themselves from the common people through their zeal to live the law to the full. But they make many mistakes in how they interpret and live out the law. Christ in today's gospel said, "Do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill." This is to say, he came really to bring out the real meaning or the true principle of the law. What is the real meaning or the true principle of the law? The real meaning or the true principle of the law is reverence for God and respect and love for one another. Justice consists in living up to God and to others that which is their due. Christ come to show in actual life what it means to give reference to God and to others the respect and love which is their due. The reverence and that respect did not consist in obeying a multitude of pretty rules and regulations. They consist not in sacrifice, but in mercy, not in legalism, but in love, not in prohibition that demand that man and woman should not do things, but in the instruction to mold their life on positive commandment to live. Christ in today's gospel said, "Unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribe and Pharisee, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." What did he mean by that? The motive under which the scribe and Pharisee lived was the motive of law. Their one aim and desire was to satisfy the demand of the law. In other words, they have done all that the law demands. Their duty is discharged, and the law has no more claim on them. The motive of Christian life is the motive of love. The one desire of all Christians is to show their wondering gratitude from the love they receive from God. In the desire of the scribe and Pharisee to satisfy the law and the demand of the law, there is always a limit. In Christian desire to show their gratitude for the love of God and the claim of love, there's no limit in time or in eternity. In today's gospel, Christ is not against the law of Moses or to destroy the Torah, but to show the true meaning of the law. Christ is against false and superficial interpretation of Moses. To murder is a classic example of a broken relationship. The law of Moses says, "You shall not murder." Jesus commanded people to let go of their anger and work towards reconciliation before a relationship breaks down to the murderous stage. He described the 3 stages of anger: anger in the heart, anger in the speech, anger in the action. Christ further told the disciples and us, the mere ceremonial sacrifice cannot restore broken relationship. We should amend the relationship before the ceremonial sacrifice. A commandment of God given directly to Moses on Mount Sinai say, "You shall not commit adultery." Christ insists that adultery is also committed through willfully generated evil and impure thought and desire, which willingly sustain in the mind. If we look at a woman with lust, our eye become agents of sins according to the desire and intention in our heart. Christ tells us the serious nature of this sin and the extreme measure we must use to remedy this sin. Just like the doctor removed the infected gallbladder or the inflamed appendix to preserve the life of the whole body. So we must part with anything that causes us to commit grave sins, which leads us to spiritual death. Christ used the metaphor of removal of eye, right hand, and member of the body to teach us that our spiritual well-being is far more important than our physical well-being. Some Pharisees believe that a man can divorce his wife for the slightest offense, but Christ's teaching is that marriage is for life, and it is only in the extreme case of inappropriateness that a couple should divorce. In Leviticus chapter 19, verses 12, "You shall not swear falsely by my name, profane the name of your God. I am the Lord." Jesus emphasized truth-telling and honesty in dealing with people. The attitude that Christians should have is honesty and trustworthiness. So there's no need to swear at all. Let your word be yes if yes, or no to no. Having to swear or make oath betrays the weakness and unreliability of your word. It demonstrates that there's not enough weight in your own character to confirm your word. Christ also reminds us that God is part of every oath anyway. If you swear by heaven, earth, Jerusalem, or even your head, you swear by God, and your oath must be honored. In a short while, we will receive the Eucharist, the ultimate self-revelation of God, the lawgiver. We thank him to teach us today the true principle of the law, which is reverence for God and respect for one another, or love of God and love of our neighbor. We ask him to help us every day to be obedient to his teaching.